Good afternoon, everyone, and potentially for the third time, welcome to the Safer Gambling Forum. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I hope that you have all been able to tune in to our first and second sessions from the operator perspective and then from the supplier side, looking at kind of focuses and challenges in safer gambling this year. Now I'm delighted to put the focus on the UK safer gambling and the RET sectors as well. So before I introduce the first of our four fantastic speakers, just a reminder again that we do welcome as many questions as you might have out there. So in order to send those over to our speakers today, please just head over to Slido. You'll see the QR code just on the screen there, which you can scan, and that will take you to Slido on your mobile device. Or alternatively, the link just above the broadcast screen that you should be able to see, that will take you directly to the homepage of Slido on your computer screen. And once there, you just type in the event code EGR Safer Gambling Forum, and there you can type and send your questions over to our speakers. We are going to have four kind of brief presentations from our speakers that you can see on the screen here. They're going to kind of go through an overview of, say, the past sort of 12 months of their focuses. It's been a challenging time for the RET and the charity sectors in the UK gambling industry. So I'm delighted to be joined by the speakers to kind of talk us through what they're working on and their experiences over the past 12 months. At the end of these presentations, we'll all come back on again and I'll be able to fire over a few questions to all four of our speakers here today. So please do send them over if you have anything coming to mind. Okay, so to kick us off, I'm delighted to welcome Duncan Garvey, founder of BetBlocker, to join us. Hello, Duncan, over to you.
Afternoon, Katie. Lovely to be here with everyone. As Katie just said, I'm Duncan Garvey. I am the founder and one of the trustees for the charity BetBlocker. BetBlocker provides blocking software, a free app that allows the user to restrict their device from accessing online gambling websites and apps. Currently, we block over 325,000 gambling operator websites and 1,500 gambling apps. By this point this year, at any given time, our servers have around 80,000 devices actively connected to them. Our service is free. Why is this important? Well, firstly, price barriers between those who need support for gambling harm and support exacerbate the primary marker of harm, that's financial distress. They also ensure that the most vulnerable, those that have lost the most money, are the least able to access that support. And by not requiring a payment, we can significantly streamline the activation process, moving users to a safe blocked status faster. Our service can also be accessed anonymously. Now, this is really important because gambling disorder is commonly associated with feelings of stigma and shame. By not requiring the person to identify themselves, we remove those barriers. Again, we also speed up the activation process by not asking for personal information. And we improve their security, because if we don't have their personal information, that information can't be hacked or leaked. So how does BetBlocker compare to commercial blocking softwares? Well, it's free, it's anonymous to use, it's more secure, it's faster to set up, it's available on more platforms, it's available in far more languages. We have a unique scheduling feature, which we're launching tomorrow, and we have a parental controls feature, which is unique to BetBlocker as well. In 2025, BetBlocker is on track to support over 300,000 active users. In fact, just today, we've announced that we've passed 250,000 active users. That means we've supported more than 5,000 in Spain, Germany, Finland, and Nigeria, more than 10,000 in the Netherlands, Romania, South Africa, Kenya, Canada, and the Philippines. We will support more than 20,000 in the UK and United States, and we'll support a massive 50,000 people in Brazil. We've just passed that target. Tomorrow we'll be launching our scheduling tool. Our scheduling tool allows people to plan in advance when they need a block. So if you're prone to gambling a bit too much after a few drinks, you could set your block to switch on Friday and Saturday nights. If you want to make sure your bills are paid before you play, you could set your block to switch on immediately after payday. If your priority is making sure you spend quality time with your children, you could set your block to switch on when the school's let out and switch off at bedtime. If you like a bet on the match but find the in-play betting too much, you could set your block to come on during match time. Where traditional blocking software is considered a crisis management tool, the scheduling tool offers a genuine, responsible gambling service. This is intended to reach people earlier in the process and reduce harm. On Wednesday, we'll be launching our improved dashboard, which will streamline support for users. It will signpost other forms of support like GamCare, GamStop, Gamble Aware in the UK, but we've identified partners in 50 different countries to signpost. We'll also be signposting university research that we're supporting. And we will be signposting reviews for our App Store and Play Store services to allow users to express their opinions on BetBlocker. BetBlocker is currently available in 24 different languages, and we hope to launch in 2 more before the end of this year. And we've been recognised by numerous award programmes this year, including being shortlisted for an NCPG award, taking silver at the SBC Awards, being selected as the charity partner of Clarion Gaming, and actually on Wednesday, we're up for our Vixio Award as well. And you'll be glad to know that's the end of my little presentation. So I will pass on to the next presenter.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Duncan. I will now be delighted to be joined by Mark Potter, founder and director at Mark Potter Consulting. Hi, Mark.
Hi, everyone. I guess slightly differently to Duncan. My, I suppose, understanding of the RET sector over the last 12 months has been a pretty negative one. Previously, having worked at both Epic and IC360 for 10 years previously to setting up my own company, have been the beneficiary of RET, where we provided education, training programs that have, in my opinion, greatly benefited the gambling industry. I think in the last sort of 12 months, we've seen that disappear, obviously moving towards the new levy. And whilst I think nobody thought RET was absolutely perfect, I think most people would agree that it's currently better than the current scenario where there's no clarity. Nobody knows where to put funding bids into. Organisations are potentially closing. I think, obviously, Gamble Aware are about to close. We've seen the Safer Gambling Standard close down. And a lot more charities are really struggling purely down to the lack of clarity. And I think some of that is the volatile nature of the different spectrum of people who are having their say with where the new levy should go to. And I think demands made by those who are fundamentally directly opposed to gambling, but who also want paying from the new levy on their own terms, has created I would call a divide. And I think one of the biggest issues is its impacted it's had is on the lived experience community, of which obviously I am one. I think lived experience people fresh into recovery have been almost used and utilised for political gain. I think we're almost at a point where people are potentially increasing vulnerability for those people. And my goal fundamentally, I guess, for setting my own organisation up, I guess, was not to just go out and tell my story of gambling disorder and what that meant, but also to put a slightly different context on that. And I think that's what needs to happen going forward with lived experience, where the organisations represented on here fundamentally it's around partnering to create positive new initiatives. If you look at the sort of gambling behaviour screen that I use when I go and do some sporting presentations, ultimately professional sport was my former occupation, and the further I got into my relationship with gambling and the more unhealthy it became, the more that started to impact on my play, my products, my emotional behaviours, my mental health, and obviously financially as well, but also, I guess more importantly for an athlete, my athletic performance. And part of what I would like to achieve going forward is, if you look at that almost spectrum, if you like, every organisation on here would benefit from a slightly different point, where I guess if you look at Better Change, we're about the positive play. If you can promote the positive nature of gambling, if you can promote a safer gambling environment, if you can create sustainability at the start of that journey, then the likely it is that you will need less of the more support-natured things further down the line, which obviously I did. If you then look at where blocking software could come in, and Duncan, I would guess it is when your relationship changes from gambling for fun and enjoyment to doing it for other means, which for me was around, I guess, escapism, trying to replicate the buzz and adrenaline of winning a lot of money, around trying to mask the void that was being filled through injuries, and ultimately doing it for what it was never supposed to be. And there were times I needed to get away from that. So at that point, blocking software would have been absolutely useful. And then if we look at sort of Katie at the end, that's when absolute stress, trauma, disorder, and your gambling has gone to an almost clinical level, where you need to make sure you're self-excluding with all of the operators. I guess all of those services would benefit from the different timeline. And my goal from the lived experience perspective is to bring the insights of that and my understanding of behaviors, how and when emotions come into it, and all the different aspects that I guess benefit from lived experience, is how all of these different organizations would benefit from those insights, whether it's behavioral tracking, whether it's positive play and education, or whether it's at a point where you need to either block some software or stop. So my goal is to partner with organizations like all of these to put some insights from lived experience into the context and content to enhance it and ultimately create some positive new initiatives going forward. So I will stop sharing now and pass the baton on to Katie.
Thank you so much, Mark. And yes, now to welcome my namesake, Katie Reynolds-Jones, Chief Marketing Officer at GamStop. Hello, Katie.
Hello, Katie. A double Katie. Hi, and thank you for having me today. And thanks, Mark. And I would like to reiterate, I think it is so important. Just ignore this first slide. It's something that we're doing elsewhere. But the role of lived experience, that such crucial voice, and the work that the lived experience community do, we've got to be really careful going forward that is incorporated in what the future in the UK certainly looks like, because it's quite unsure, let's say, at the moment. However, I'm here to talk about GamStop, and I'm hoping that most of you know what GamStop is, but just as a bit of background, my name's Katie, and I have worked at GamStop for 8 years, looking after external affairs, marketing, research, evaluation, that side of things. And we have had another extraordinarily busy year in the UK. We are only available in the UK, self-exclusion. We are currently excluding 552,000 individuals. We've moved from people that are currently using assignment. We used to talk about registered users, which, by the way, is up at 634,000 individuals in the UK. That's about 0.89% of the UK population, so nearly 1%. And we've stopped doing that now because we've reached the 7-year data retention period. So actually people are coming off the scheme and then can then start again. So we could potentially be counting people twice. So we don't talk about that number anymore. That's update number 1 I wanted to share with you. So we now are talking about people that are currently excluding. So they haven't removed their exclusion, they are currently excluding, and that figure to date is, as I said, 552,000. We're seeing our busiest month ever in October. We saw our busiest day in September at 505 new registrations in one day. So people are using the scheme still a lot. There's still a need, a real requirement for GamStop here in the UK. More than we had probably envisaged. This little slide I've got on, the background is about some work we've been doing this year to overhaul our branding a little bit. For those of you who don't know, GamStop Online is part of the GamStop Group, which also runs the multi-operator self-exclusion scheme for land-based or betting shops. We have decided or been working this year towards renaming the previously named Moses scheme to align with our other brands and create unity across our identity. So this slide just briefly shows you why and what it's going to look like. We're launching that this week. Later on this week, we're going to be relaunching our GamStop Online website. There's not a massive amount of change on our old logo to our new logo for GamStop Online. So for operators listening, we are sending out new guidelines and we do not expect any immediate changes to logos. It's iterative and we will we're hoping that will roll out over the next 6 to 12 months whenever changes are possible. The bigger change obviously is in the betting shop logo, GamStop betting shops, which we're bringing into line. Still got the old yellow, but it feels more part of the family to sort of bring the two brands together and sort of almost leverage the excellent reputation that we've garnered over GamStop Online across the land-based schemes, because actually we've done quite a lot of work with those people that use the betting shop scheme and the reputation is really good amongst those that use it. It's just not so good amongst those that aren't using it in the context within which it's meant. So we really want to try and work hard on getting a sort of a really good positioning over the GamStop betting shop offering. So that's kind of the work we've been doing this year. And I just got a little bit more on the branding there. I'll just show you my second slide. I've only got 2 slides, so I'm not going to talk much more. But that just shows what we're going to be calling the new Moses, if you like, and some of the reasons why. That's what we're doing. Anything else I want to tell you about? We have, as I said before, just got the data retention piece going live. So that's been a big piece of work for us. We're involved in GAM Protect, as I'm sure you may or may not be aware, and that's going really, really well with over 10,000 people being supported in this important initiative run by GAM Protect Limited. I think I've spoken for 5 minutes and I'm obviously happy to take any questions at the end, but I shall hand over to David.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Katie. And yes, please, if I could welcome Dave Richardson, Director of Strategic Partnerships at Better Chain. What do you do?
Hi, Katie. How are you doing? I'm just going to share my screen. There we go. So when I was asked to do a review of 2025, I thought we can't miss the chance to put in an AI-generated photograph. So this is myself and my colleague Rob Mabbott, and anyone who knows Rob knows that's an amazing likeness from when we ran a positive play event at Doncaster Racecourse, which was one of the things I'm going to talk about shortly, about how we can engage the industry more and actually do more as an industry to be proud of the work we do. For those who don't know Better Change, we're a consultancy focusing on safer gambling, positive play, and we also offer training. Our team is growing from a few years ago when it was just myself and Vicky, and then Rob joined us. We've now got a strong team with the recent appointments of Anna Davis and Emma Russell, who've been very much welcome to the team. And we've all got a passion for gambling. We all enjoy gambling. We all enjoy the gambling industry. And we've got a real passion to try and make it a better place for the operators and for everybody who's got anything to do with gambling as well. So that is our team. Looking on last year, one of the highlights for us, which has kind of formulated a lot of the work we've done throughout, is we launched our manifesto. It sounds very grand, but what it did was it gave us a real focus on what we're trying to do. And we question everything we're doing as an organisation. Is it matching our manifesto? Are we achieving what we want to achieve? And it's available on our website for you to look at. If anyone wants to discuss it, that'd be fantastic. But what it really talked about was challenging the misinformation, reducing the stigma. And there's so much political conversation going on at the moment. It's actually putting a little bit of balance to that. We're not politically aligned to one side or the other, but what we do want to try and do is bring some balance to the conversation and actually talk about the positives of gambling and why people gamble. And I know Katie and Mark spoke about lived experience before, and quite rightly, lived experience is hugely important. And we like to talk about the lived experience of people who gamble as well. Someone who gambles safely and enjoys gambling and gets the most out of gambling. We do feel that as well as someone who's been harmed from gambling or potentially harmed, there's two sides to that experience. Why don't we learn more from the people who gamble and enjoy gambling? And I think that's something we're really trying to do. And we've been doing player panels this year. We've been engaging with different organisations. And we've been speaking to gamblers, not just about how they can stay free from harm, but also about what they get out of the gambling, how they enjoy the gambling, what makes it safe for them. And a lot of it is their own internal mechanisms for safer gambling, which is really interesting to find out. We've done lots of articles and interviews this year. We wrote letters to DCMS. Some have got replies, some haven't. And we've done literary reviews. So we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes for the industry, and really looking forward to 2026. Just moving on slightly, I say this a bit tongue-in-cheek, but safer gambling is good, positive play is great. What I mean by that is, we see there's an opportunity now to reclaim safer gambling. I've been in the industry for 4.5 years now, and I think even in that period of time, safer gambling has almost been hijacked by gambling harm. And when we're talking about safer gambling, it goes hand in hand with gambling harm and people suffering, which is not right. Safer gambling for us is for people who gamble. And I know that sounds very simple, but if you maybe question within your own operator or your own stakeholder, do you see safer gambling as for people who gamble and for people who can continue to gamble in a sustainable manner? So that's kind of where we've positioned ourselves. The place for blocking, stopping, banning and restrictive practices is certainly part of the conversation, but at one extreme of the conversation, where actually the majority of people statistically are way further upstream than that. And I think we miss so many opportunities to engage with those people. I think that's what we're really looking forward to in 2026, is how we can push that narrative a little bit more to engage with people who enjoy gambling and actually start the prevention of harm before even any signs are evident. So that is why we would say positive play is very, very similar to safer gambling, but we kind of phrase it a little bit differently. And so what is the difference between positive play and restrictive practices? I've put a few things on the screen there. But a lot of it is about, from a customer's point of view, what are they getting out of it? We want to focus on the enjoyment, the literacy, the gambling literacy. So understanding what they're betting on, understanding what someone's betting on and why they're doing it, the honesty of the person taking part and the tolerance. So how can we move forward in 2026? I think there's been some really, really positive talk, actions, conversations we've had with operators about how we can work together. And I know it's a collaboration is probably the buzzword that's been in every conference, every panel for the last few years, but we are at risk of just having the same conversation, the same panels over and over again. And if we're in this place in a year and we're having the same talks, we're not really moving the needle at all. So I think actually some of the bigger operators really taking responsibility for the industry, not just themselves, is really good to see. I think there's so many huge operators at the moment who are realizing their responsibility in the industry wide. And I think the fact that no one organization has the right to say who should and who shouldn't be listened to. And I think politically, and I know Mark touched upon it before, but the damage it's done to some amazing organisations and amazing people who work in those organisations has been really sad. What's going to happen there, we still don't know. And the fact that we talk about not knowing, and we've had this conversation for months now, it's inexcusable. When the levy came in, taking over from the RET system, there needed to be a stronger plan in place, and that there wasn't is really, really poor. And I still think we're suffering now. And I think it's really important at this point to look at why we all work in either the compliance, the safer gambling, third sector. It's actually to help protect people, and it's helped to make the gambling industry a better place. And I do think that's been forgotten a little bit over the last year with the political wranglings. And it's no coincidence that when there's a lot of money involved, this happens to people. And there's certain organisations who don't like gambling, want to ban gambling effectively. And what I'd love to see in 2026 is those conversations all be brought together with the whole industry, because I think that if we can have more adult conversations and we can find some sort of balance rather than a them and us attitude, I think that's how we can actually move the needle and make progress in the safer gambling space. So finally, as I started, you must have all made a Lego picture in AI at some point. So this is just showing that everybody's got a part of building a better gambling industry going forward. And 2026 is something we're really looking forward to, a better change, and excited about what the future might hold. That's me, Katie.
Hello. Hi, Brackets. Thank you so much, Dave. All right, brilliant. I would love to welcome all of our speakers back onto the stage, as it were. And it's great. I've had quite a few questions come through, and a few of those are kind of to particular individuals here. But just to kind of start it off, apologies, I'm operating across a few screens, so let me just find my bearings. Yes, so just to kick it all off, and kind of happy for anyone to sort of pick this question up to start. How well do you think that the industry educates about your services, or how it draws attention to support services generally? Any kind of thoughts on that?
Are we muted? Can we just jump in?
Go ahead, Katie. Yeah, yeah, hands up.
We actually have really good. We've been to see a few of the operators recently, and some operator engagement, especially a lot across the land-based scheme. I think there's generally really good pickup on training and development of GamStop and how they can talk about it with their customers, and how they can signpost. Signposting has always been really, really excellent across the operators if they do have to do it. But it's absolutely, it is our biggest source of registrants. It's clear. It's very, we don't have any issues with that at all. That's working really well. We'd love to do some more safer gambling advertising along with the operators, and training and that, education on how we can get involved in a bit more of that would be brilliant. I would say that, wouldn't I? But genuinely, I feel like there's quite a lot of understanding, certainly about the tools, the different tools, which is where I am in this space, and what's available and what works together with other things. For example, Duncan and I are certainly not competitive, we're complementary. I think that's. Oh, are we not? Oh, I thought we were, Duncan.
No, we are definitely working hand in hand.
Thought he was shaking his head. No. We're a complementary product because we actually do very different things, and I hope that is clear in training and presentations that are done within in this space.
I would only add to what Katie's been saying there. I think a broad question talking about the whole industry is maybe a little too sweeping to answer. Is everybody getting it right? No, not everybody is getting it right. We see variation from group to group, but broadly speaking, BetBlocker sees fantastic levels of enthusiasm coming from the gambling sector. Just like Katie was saying with GamStop, the majority, or not, maybe not quite the majority, but a large proportion of the registrations for BetBlocker are coming from referrals from the industry. We see, in fact, less than a month ago, we had one of our partners, BetMGM, partner with a local news station in Nevada to help raise the profile of BetBlocker. There's a lot of good work going on, and I would be wary of being too critical. There are certainly areas for improvement, And there are sectors, when we start going into the unregulated market, look, they're not doing nearly so good a job. But broadly speaking, I would say the licensed markets are waking up to the need to work with us. And we are all, even amongst the support organizations, we are all learning and improving and getting better at working together. And that's been a huge improvement.
Right, yeah, that collaboration is key. It seems like a kind of a buzz phrase, but absolutely. Dave, if I could kind of point one at you, we've got one just following your presentation. So from a positive play perspective, how do we reinforce good behaviour without it becoming an incentive to play more? How do you strike that balance, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think the actual question says almost a bit of a state of where we are. First of all, there's nothing wrong with gambling more. There's nothing wrong with people gambling. And I think that's the really important thing that we need to break down. So if we're phrasing everything as how do we do something without people gambling more, it's kind of the wrong way to look at it in the first place, I would say. What we're trying to do is we're trying to reduce gambling harm, not reduce people gambling. And I know a lot of the political debate at the moment is about the only way to stop gambling, to reduce gambling harm, is to reduce gambling, where it's not really based on much that at all. Obviously, if something's done less, there's going to be less of one aspect of it. If you do less gambling, there's also going to be less people enjoying gambling from the other side of it as well. And that has an impact on the economy and society, etc. So how we can do it without an incentive is actually through education. So I would say one example, walking into a casino can be quite intimidating, in a land-based casino. I work in the industry, and there's times when you'd walk into a casino and going to sit at a roulette table might be quite intimidating against what looks like a lot of serious players and you've never played before. But educating someone how to do that and educating about the rules of roulette and the rules of the game and the risk and the reward and all about it is part of safer gambling at the other end of the spectrum. Because if you're more educated about something and you understand more about what you're gambling on, you're actually going to be doing it more responsibly and you're going to be doing it more gambling literacy. So I don't think we look at it as in we're trying to promote people gambling more. We're trying to promote a higher level of education and gambling literacy. So when they choose to gamble, they're doing it with more education behind them and with a bit more, arguably more responsibly. So I think it can be done. I think it can be done tactfully as well. And I think that we automatically go to the safe space of let's stop them from gambling. Let's block them from gambling, because actually that's possibly the easiest thing to do, where we can put a lot more effort into that communication with them to actually understand the industry that they're actually engaging with more.
Okay.
Is it not about promoting positive experiences as well, Dave? Just like effectively, if you're promoting it to be done in the right way, like a day out at the races with friends, for example, your Saturday football accumulator, you're promoting it to be done for what it should be done for, which is fun and enjoyment, like we said. So you're promoting positive experiences. Where the education and the positive play conversation comes in is how that remains the case, and whether that is helping people understand who they are, what makes them tick, but also how it can change. And I think that's, for me, that's what positive play is. It's about helping people remain in that zone where it is an enjoyable experience and helping people understand the things that have the ability to change that.
Yeah, exactly that, Mark. And yeah, completely right. You're promoting the things that you should be promoting about the enjoyment. I don't for 1 minute think you should give someone 100 free spins if they gamble safely for the next week. I think that would be completely irresponsible just to make that point. But actually emphasizing why people are gambling and the enjoyment they get from gambling. And I'm talking about the other end of the continuum here. So the bet blockers, follow what Duncan does and Katie at GamStop. It's amazing work, and it's towards the other end of the spectrum. It's so people can control and stop and block, which is part of the whole picture. And I suppose what I'm saying with positive play is we're looking at further the other way, and we're looking at a huge part of the population who gamble rather than those who need to stop and block. And if we do our job right, hopefully it supports people at the other end as well, who are trying to service the people who do need harm, who are suffering from harm.
Thank you so much. To turn back to Duncan and to Katie as well. With the cost of living rising in the UK, have BetBlocker or GamStop, have you seen an increase in sign-ups, say, in the last 12 months?
Well, we've definitely seen an increase in sign-ups. I think Duncan and I made that clear in our little presentation. I think Duncan had them on the screen. I didn't, but our year on year, our graphs are ridiculous. You know, they do. There's a definite increase every single year. Is it to do with the cost of living? Possibly. Post-COVID, possibly. You know, to David's point, I mean, it's really, really important this. We are not here. I mean, I'm a marketing person. That's what I do. So normally I should be going, we need more sign-ups. You know, that's great. Tick, I've done my job. Terrible. That's the last thing I want. We want to see our registrations go down. We would love to see, you know, overall GamStop figures actually reducing, because hopefully that will be aligned with a decrease in severity of harm, you know, in the new GSGB or any of those surveys, and we can see, you know, actually the prevention piece working, the education piece working, so that people aren't coming to GamStop/BetBlocker to put quite a serious piece of kit on. You know, you can't turn GamStop off. When it's on, it's on. It can't be taken off. So you're right. We are at that end of the spectrum. I think I can only tell you what I see, which is huge, you know, definite increases in uptake. And why is that? And I can't say it's cost of living, but I can say there is a definite problem in this country with gambling, because we're seeing people at this end, our end of the scale, more and more people putting GamStop on. So something, you know, we have got to change.
I would add to that, Katie. I completely agree. I mean, BetBlocker by the end of this year will have seen about a 300% increase in active users over 2025. So it is a massive increase. I am very wary of attributing this to economic strain. And the reason I would say that, well, it's understandable that people rush to that conclusion. We know that social deprivation correlates strongly with higher levels of harm across a variety of harmful activities. But the simple truth is BetBlocker has gained a lot more traction in terms of visibility and brand recognition over this year. And my gut feeling is that the increase in users we've seen has had more to do with more people being aware of us than it has a wider social trend which is driving people to us. It could be both, but we would need more research to know.
That's right. Well, thank you all. We're coming very close to the end of our time there. It always goes too quickly. But kind of any final kind of thoughts, anything else you would like to share just before we kind of close out? I will say that we've had quite a few messages here just basically saying thank you for the information and for the presentation. So it is obviously really important for everyone here to be hearing what you're working on.
Well, any questions for me that haven't been answered today, please feel free to contact me either on my email or LinkedIn. Always happy to answer questions for anyone.
Perfect. No, that's great. I'll check with all of our speakers here if they're happy for slides to be shared after the fact as well. I'll kind of double check with all of you guys at the end. But first of all, just to say a huge thank you to the four of you for preparing for this session and for sharing everything that you've gone through today. And yeah, plenty of questions still coming through. So yeah, please get in touch with any of our four speakers who I'm sure will be happy to discuss further. So with that, I want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in to the Safer Gambling Forum. I'm sure you've got plenty of other events to be attending either in person or virtually over the remaining days this week. But yeah, huge thank you for making ours part of your event schedule, and to my four speakers here for joining us.
Thanks, Katie. Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
See you later.